Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Davidson, the Sexual Integrity Coach, located in Wilton Manors, Florida. Welcome to another episode of Adult Sex Education. Is consent important to gay men? I will address that question in a moment, but first let me thank you for subscribing. Most of the topics that I'm discussing now are those requested by subscribers. I always appreciate your comments and your suggestions for topics. Consent means permission. It's an important concept because it protects us physically, emotionally, and also legally. Even when you see a therapist or a physician, you have to sign a form consenting to the treatment. It might seem obvious that you consent since you did show up for the appointment, but it's important that the patient is aware of the treatment they are receiving and understands the potential risk. Today, I'm specifically talking about consent for sexual activity and sexual touch. Sexual consent can be very ambiguous. Most of us don't sign a document consenting to sex with another person. These things usually get worked out organically, and often gay men never talk about the subject of consent. Some gay men are guilty of assuming that all other gay men think like they do, enjoy the same things they enjoy, and welcome any or all attention they receive. These generalizations diminish our ability to connect with each other in a way that's personal and respectful of individual boundaries and preferences. Legally, subjecting another person to sexual activity that they didn't want is considered assault or rape and can land you on the sex offender registry. This isn't a prestigious list that you want to be on. This alone is a reason to have clarity about what the other person is and isn't consenting to. There are also physical and psychological consequences for being subjected to sexual touch or sexual activity that you didn't consent to. Men, gay and straight, are more predatory in sexual behavior than women. We see this all over the world and throughout human history. Men are more likely than women to be accused of sexual harassment, to be arrested for sex crimes, or to be accused of being sexually addicted. Men are more likely than women to have paraphilias like voyeurism, exhibitionism, or frauderism, all of which are illegal because the targets in these cases were unsuspecting and didn't give consent. Women are less sexually impulsive than men. They tend to be the gatekeepers and safety officers when it comes to sex. Sex for women is potentially more consequential. She runs the risk of unwanted pregnancy, being overpowered and subjected to activity that she doesn't want, and being socially ostracized in her culture for her sexual participation, even when she was a victim in the situation. Men don't usually feel this kind of vulnerability in sexual situations, even with other men. Uninvited touch isn't necessarily unwanted. It might be welcomed and enjoyed. In gay male culture, it's often accepted, tolerated, and normalized as reasonable social behavior among gay men. If touched by a stranger, some men might feel desired, appreciated, and liked. It might be experienced as approval and acceptance, something gay men don't get easily elsewhere in life. Many gay men believe that they've spent most of their life hiding their sexuality, and when around other gay men, they want to let loose and embrace it. Gay male culture is highly sexualized, and some gay events are planned around sexual activity. Consent is assumed to be implied just because you showed up. Unfortunately, recreational substances are also pretty common at these events, and this impairs one's ability to avoid impulses or set boundaries with others. Men can be subjected to activity that they didn't want because they were not conscious enough to set limits or defend themselves. So the answer to this question is yes. Consent does ultimately matter to gay men. It might still be subjective depending on the individual or situation. Getting clarity about permission could save you some embarrassment or even legal consequences. I'm Dr. Stephen Davidson, the Sexual Integrity Coach. Please check out my website at sexualintegritycoach.com for links to both of my books, Sexual Integrity, Finding the Courage to Be Yourself, as well as Peaceful Mind, Peaceful Life, the guidebook to happiness.